Who am I very brave here to approach this number in my personal log series, number 13. Number 13 here. It was going to come up sooner or later. Number 13. Is it really that scary? Is that number really that scary? The number 13. It seems to be in North American culture that the number 13 is appeared to be more unlucky than lucky. I know some cultures it's looked upon as a lucky number, and I know in Islam, when I briefly looked at it, I know Islamic cultures, or basically any of the Muslim cultures, I believe, that base everything around the moon there. Some look at 13 as a lucky number here, but in North America, not so as much. I mean, you don't see row 13 in an airplane, and you don't see gate number 13 in the airport, or definitely I know that the case at YYC, the Calgary International Airport. And when I worked security as one of my crummy jobs while I was going through college here, I did patrol some high-rises in the high-rise buildings in downtown Calgary, and some buildings actually do have a 13th floor, and it's just like any other floor in the building. While you got others where you see in the elevator, you see 10, 11, 12, then you don't see 13, it goes straight to 14. And I know there's this term called trichosophobia, I think it's called, where people are actually afraid of the number 13. Actually, this jersey is actually the 101st Grey Cup commemorative jersey, which was in Regina that year in 2013, which there's a lot of 13 that maybe Rough Rider fans might actually hate and like the number 13 at the same time, because first, it's kind of ironic that they pride themselves on being the 13th man because it's a very hostile place to play as a visitor. Yet, in the 97th Grey Cup, I have to bring this up. I was there live here in Calgary. It was the 13th man having too many men on the field late in the game that potentially cost them the Grey Cup here, even though Montreal did also come back in the fourth quarter, and Saskatchewan didn't put the game away when they could in the fourth quarter, and it came down to a last-second field goal, which on that play, they had too many men on the field. 13 players on the field. In the CFL, they have 12. I know the NFL, you have 11, but it's a wider field, so we have an extra man. And then, two-man penalty. Montreal a second chance to kick the field goal for the winner and won the Grey Cup by 1 point. But that's where they still kind of hate the number 13 there, because many CFL fans bring that up. The 13th man, kind of ironic. Yet in the year 2013, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the city of Regina, hosted the Grey Cup that year. And lucky if fate had it, the Saskatchewan Roughriders were in the Grey Cup that year in 2013 and won the Grey Cup in 2013 with the Rider Nation, the 13th man. So maybe that part of the country, they might actually like the number 13. I mean, me personally, I do feel a little, I'm not enough to get diagnosed with trichosophobia, but I know that number 13 does sometimes feel a little odd, but I mean, that's the thing with sports, is that some players like wearing the number 13. I mean, look at Johnny Gaudreau here in Calgary. He's been fine wearing the number 13 for the Calgary Flames, and Calgary Stampeders used to have a kicker named Mark McLaughlin, which for a while there I looked at him as he was a great kicker there that, he has no problem kicking the field goal, but when the game was on the line, I was definitely a little nervous there, but those nerves came out the window when he kicked the winning field goal the 86 Grey Cup in 1998 to give Calgary the Grey Cup that year, and won the big game. And actually his number 13 is retired by the Calgary Stampeders, so no one's going to wear that number again. But that's traditionally a number for potentially receiver, quarterback, running back, a key player in the offense for the any football team. I mean, Mike Riley up the road in Edmonton wears number 13. But then, speaking back in sports here, that generally seems to be a popular number more with European players than North American players. I mean, the most famous player, I think the best player to wear number 13 here in North America is Matt Sundin. Mostly played with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he's a Swede, and that seems to be a popular number. And Pavel Datsyuk wore number 13 for the Detroit Red Wings. But another thing about number 13 that does have some stigma to the number is that it's a great movie and it's based on a true story. But back when there was Apollo missions, missions up to the moon, there was the 13th mission, Apollo 13, that disaster struck, and unfortunately the crew were in survival mode up in space, and they didn't land on the moon, and all they were worried about was getting back to Earth and surviving, and unfortunately they did survive. So depends which. I think it depends on where you are in sports, culture, where you are in the world. The number 13 could be scary or could be not. There's just too many coincidences here. I mean, the other negative about number 13 is that Friday the 13th is looked upon as an unlucky day. There's more accidents on that particular day, and there definitely is that movie franchise with Mr. Voorhees, Jason Voorhees, Crystal Lake. Definitely dozens, or maybe a baker's dozen, number 13 of movies of Friday the 13th. And speaking of going back to the high-rise on the 13th floor, I remember renting it back when you used to actually go to a place called a video store to rent movies, where you exchange temporary short-term release of a movie to watch at home and turn it back. I actually did. It was released in 1999. Actually, two movies were released in 1999. Where one was pretty good, despite both these movies being flops. Well, once again, number 13 was there was the 13th Warrior, which is a medieval movie, but there was a sci-fi movie that I briefly remember called The 13th Floor. I watched The 13th Warrior in the movie theater when I used to work at the movie theater back in the day when I was in high school. But the 13th Floor, I did remember renting it on DVD with a video game, and it was an alright movie. But when I look back on the reviews, it was mostly negative, and it flopped in terms of it cost more money to make the movie than it made in the box office. So what do you say about the number 13? Is it really that scary, or is it just a number? Is it just in our head? Is it just a coincidence? But I felt it was appropriate to make this personal vlog number 13 to cleverly time it up and bang it out. I couldn't just skip it because it will still count as 13 videos, even though I didn't leave it as 13. But we'll see what happens to me going forward. That I've made at least 13 personal vlogs here, and I do live in the 13th unit if you count all the units in my apartment. And it's hard to say I'm still alive. It's been 3.5 years, but there has been some strange things that go on here, and I'll be ranting about something in my next personal vlog. But it's very common when you live in the apartment. You'll see me when I get to that personal vlog. But if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel in terms of personal vlogs on mostly Calgary sports and scenery videos, and any moments at sporting events or musical entertainment, sure hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video after Thanks for getting personal vlog number 13 out of the way. Feels a little better now, but I'll see you in the next video.